fact that it does look like him. It's not this, Kenner action figure variation. Yay. So Black Ops 6, the grand leap forward. What's your interest level in this one? Okay. So, 4 years in development, longer than any other game in the series, we're told. A brand new leap with the tech. Okay, so we talked about remasters, and one of the first one up, they're going to remaster Max Payne 1 and 2, which is good.
Yeah, those need remasters.
And so let's run down the line really quick and say, before we get on to some of the other news and rumors, does anybody have a classic game they think is desperately in need of a remaster versus a sequel? Oh, we'll get to down.
I think the original Fallout 1, Fallout 2. Those both need remasters. They're still great games, but they're a little longer at this point.
I like his answer. That would be amazing. I'd love to see the new technology or whatever on those two. Sorry, should have added more, but that was such a good one.
For me, I'm more of a Star Wars fan, so I really like the Old Republic. Second, I would love to see a continuation. Of course, there's so much space to fill, but I do like the idea of remastering because the graphics are so much more updated nowadays. And I know they did it for Knights of the Republic for the Nintendo Switch, and it kind of felt exactly the same. So I mean, a continuation and a remaster is really good.
They're supposed to update it.
All they did was reboot it. I mean, to adapt the graphics from one playable system to the other. The first one I had was like on the original Xbox, and to see it move from those old graphic cards to with the Nintendo Switch, I mean, it's just so smooth. And then you put it onto it, it just doesn't translate the same way. So I would love to see both remastered, make it better, and then a continuation. Because I love the story.
Yeah, I'm looking around and I see all these Star Wars games. I know they're redoing Bounty Hunter. They, spiffed up Dark Forces. And we talk about this a lot on our show and on the radio segments I do. And I'll be honest, the future of Star Wars gaming, it's after Outlaws, of course, I want to be clear on that one. There's a lot of rumor and speculation. So, for example, there was supposed to be a Mandalorian game coming that was going to be done at EA. Apparently that got shut down, even though there's a Mandalorian Grogu movie reportedly in the works. We know about Star Wars Eclipse. That was announced. They still say that's coming. And then this is where it gets really murky, and this one is interesting. So Skydance, as you may not know, they have an interactive division. They're right now trying to dot the I's, cross the T's with their acquisition of Paramount, so on and so forth. Amy Hennig, who did the Uncharted series, who apparently was behind Star Wars 1313 when it got canned, says they're working on a Star Wars game. And then the one that really caught my eye, Respawn says that they're working on another Star Wars game aside from the Kyle Kestis series. They said, yeah, a third one of that's coming, but they're working on it. Now, this is where it gets very, very murky. Respawn was made by the people who started the Call of Duty series. Are they looking at a first-person Star Wars game? And if so, how do you think it should go? So we'll go down the line. How do you think they should do a first-person Star Wars game in this day and age?
Well, I mean, they remastered Dark Forces. I would still like to see Kyle Katarn officially brought into canon from the original Jedi Knight series. They've already done Battlefront, so they've already done the massive multiplayer-ish game. So I would like to see. I like what Outlaws is doing in the sense that I kind of like to see something that kind of goes away from the Jedi and do a little bit more. Less Jedi, more. They can do a smuggler type game. They could do something else in some other non-force sensitive individual. But that's what I would like to see in a first-person shooter. I'd like to see a less force-focused and more rebel or smuggler-focused kind of game.
Ms. Karen?
Yeah, I would agree with that as well, just kind of a little bit more of the obscure characters maybe, to kind of just get a little bit more variance on who you get to play, who you see, and all that good stuff too, so I agree.
Julia?
I know they have done some first-person Star Wars games, like Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, and then they had Battlefront, you had the option to do first-person. But, I saw that the way that, at least like in Jedi Knight, they were very force-based because you have to choose.
Yeah.
You have to make all those choices along the
Absolutely.
way. I think that's part of the appeal, part of the draw, is that you playing as that character, you get to decide your outcome, what choices you're making, then it depends on the end game that you get. Whereas you plus team versus evil, or you versus everyone, because you chose the other side.
Yeah.
But, I do like the idea of playing someone other than a Jedi. There is a level where you have to play with no lightsaber and no force
True, yeah.
in that game, and I felt like it was very, because you have the option to be third person, but it forces you into that first person perspective, and I think that gives it a lot more, like surprise appeal to it, because now you have to really think about where you are as that character, looking around the corners, and the NPCs respond right away, whether you're quiet, whether you're moving really quickly or not. I like the idea of being a smuggler, because then you can bring in what they have nowadays, like with the Alien video game, how it's, AI. You can now incorporate that into these games. I like the idea.
Victor?
I think, what is it, like the original Medal of Honor games?
Oh, those?
They should do something like that, but put it in one of those wars.
Oh.
And then you could
Yeah.
just, basically, if I remember the World War II, when you're put on a ship and you have to like knock people out, take their stuff,
Yeah.
kind of like Hitman-esque a little bit, and just go through the whole game, but do something like that would be actually probably pretty cool.
Yes.
Why not do it as a Stormtrooper game?
That works.
That's what I'm saying.
I like the idea that you mentioned the Jedi Knight games, and I guess apparently I have a darkness to me that I didn't know about. But apparently, one of my, you remember how you could like force grab them and hold them up?
Yeah.
I used to like to do that and then hang them off the building and drop them. And I'm like, and then just for added fun, if I had the lightning, I'd give them a little spark show on the way down. So
Get out of the way.
there's a part of me going, wouldn't it be cool if maybe you could be a Sith or someone where you didn't have to worry about being nice, and if you were just having a bad day when you got home, you go, oh, innocent bystander, I think I'm gonna go chop up his shop, and of course, that got me in trouble in Fallout 3. I lost my temper and took out a family, and let's just say I couldn't go to a settlement ever. So, we have a lot more rumors, but before we do that, I wanna make sure we have plenty of time to get to your questions and answers. So let's take a few moments to do that. We'll get back to the rumors, then of course get back to questions, because we don't want you to have, you had one over there.
Yes, would you be interested in Alice remake?
Yeah, I think there's a market for an Alice remake. What do you all think?
I love the first two.
Yes.
The original, and then obviously the Return Madness.
Yeah,
So those are two of my more favorite platforming games. So
that's the doll we just ordered, right? Yeah. Yes, 1,000 times yes. I just ordered a doll from, not Sideshow, but it's our guy that does our dealer, I'm sorry, I'm a doll collector. Are we not on the doll panel? I'm sorry. Well, no, but just, it's been so long since we played those games, that now that they released that doll, I was like, oh, I wanna go back to that game. So the fact that you brought it up that they'd have a new game, I'm like, oh, that'd be
First
good.
one's really hard to get your hands on.
yeah,
Right,
I have
so
on PC,
Right.
the original one
I know.
in the box.
It was just so odd to see that doll pop up now, and I'm like, Michael, what this, and then I was like, oh, we need to go back and play this game, so yes, I would love that.
The marketing's working.
Anybody
That would
else?
also work with the remaster too.
Why don't you think they're doing anything with VR? Because like Beta Unleashed was awesome, but it was lacking because it was so early. It could be so much farther.
Well, Squadrons is pretty good on VR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as a first person game, obviously, but that's a flight sim game. It is.
You know, you brought up a very, very good question, and like anything in the industry, a lot of rumors. Some companies are very transparent and others very quiet. There is a rumor going around that Sony has cut, I don't wanna say support, but let's just say the PSVR 2 is not the priority that many think it should be. Now, that being said, this August, an adapter is supposed to be made available, about $50, that will let you play it on PC games on
They
it.
just released the Steam
Yeah.
beta for it too.
I'm beyond thrilled because I can finally play Half-Life Alyx, and I'm just like, I've been waiting for the PSVR 2 version of it, even though he's got them all, but I'm the one that plays, I play most of my games on PC. I cannot play an FPS on a console to save my life, unless it's a third person yet. But I do all my VR on the console, so yeah, go figure. So I heard it's just kind of they want to see the market and the technology's there. It's just we need that signature breakout title and they're kind of at this point, Sony's going, well, let's just let some other people come up with it. And that being said, there is a segue. This afternoon we're going to have there's the panel, and then we're going to interview the folks for the Alien Incursion game. They gave us a tiny taste of something, and then made us say you can't tell to anybody till 6:45 tonight. But there is a very interesting part of the cast that I was like, wow, that is a direction I did not expect them to even consider going, because that's so I'm interested to see what that game. And I think Romulus looks fantastic. I'll just share this rumor. Supposedly there was a hack at Disney, and an Aliens Fireteam Elite 2 is going to be announced. We think maybe it was supposed to be a Gamescom reveal or the video game, but at least they had files and apparently copyrights and all this. Oh, Disney's not going to go in on Alien. They're not going to go in on Predator. Nonsense. they're very behind. In fact, they've already got 2 Predator movies already in planning stage. Anyway, I digress. I can go on that. Classic Atari game fans. Anybody worried? Okay. Remember the 50th anniversary set?
Yep. Great
50th anniversary expanded is coming. More games, more versions, more fun. Now, I have said to them, this is what I want. I said, if you want to make me like the happiest person in the world, this is all you do. I don't want the console versions. Don't care about that. Give me the arcade version of every single Atari branded game that ever came out during the Atari game, one set. And they're like, well, some of them are licensing, because they also licensed a lot of Bally Midway stuff. That's how Berserk came in the mix for them. I said, the remasters are fine, the recharge. I'm talking everything, all the way from the original stuff, Asteroids, all the way up, and I want to see obscure stuff like Kangaroo and APB on there too. Let's get it all. APB, you remember the cop game where you could throttle a confession out of that? You'd never get away with putting that game out now. So, 2. Okay. The Switch 2, this one always cracks me up. So do you want to tell the story about the supposed releases? Or?
Yeah, you go for it.
Okay. So, it's coming this October. It's coming this October. It's coming this October. Oh, well, you know what? It's actually probably going to be the holidays. Yeah, it's going to be the holidays. And hey, you know what? We're going to put it out in the first quarter of next year. That way there's enough units to meet demand, and we'll have more launch titles available. And now we will reveal it formally by the first quarter of next year. So I'm like, so can you just say summer or Christmas of 2025, and let's just but yeah, it's odd. It's supposedly going to be the hybrid as well, docked and undocked. Somebody said, I guess they've had a couple of prototypes that they've shown out to certain people closed door. They said the screen was actually a little bit smaller. And the rumor is, when asked about how powerful it was, the rumor was they said it's on par with the PS4. And my thought was, oh boy, here we go again. So by the time you roll it out, the PS6 will be about a year to a year and a half away. You're now, so I'm like, how do you tell me that you're not competing graphically and online without saying that, but And then others have said, well, it's not quite to the PS5 level, but it's a significant step up. So, you know, we'll see. My take is, they keep saying they wanna do Call of Duty on the Switch. Well, we saw how much MK1 had to get watered down. Did any of you see the horrifically bad graphics for MK? Yeah. And, you know, I kind of look at it going, well, you can do Call of Duty mobile, but you certainly aren't going to be doing Black Ops 6 on it, at least not to the level, but.
Yeah, Nintendo needs to stick to their own IPs, because that's where they really excel.
Exactly. I mean, look, have you guys seen this new Donkey Kong roller coaster that's coming? It is the coolest thing in the world. So the track is actually below what you ride on. So your car is here, there's a little arm, and it connects underneath. So the idea is that as you're going through, the track that you see actually has gaps in it. And to you, it looks like you're jumping over the gap in the car, when the truth is it's staying on the track underneath. So it looks like you're running through, like in the game, making leaps over gaps and all of these things. And people are freaking out in the testing, thinking they're all gonna die, when the truth is they never leave the track. And I'm like, that works.
What's your opinion of free to play right now and the direction that it's going?
Good one. Michael, you guys wanna do that?
I personally would rather pay for a game than play free to play. My biggest problem with free to play is microtransactions and the ability to not get around that. It's not like, I don't mind that there's a free to play component, but I'm still one of those people that rather pay for a game outright to deal with the microtransactions that go with it.
The microtransactions drive me crazy. I would rather just straight up.
Or the watching the videos or
Yes,
watching commercials.
and it interrupts the play of it, you know, so if it's a good game, I'd rather get immersed in the game than do all the little things, although I do love free. So I'm torn because I love free, but if I wanna play the game enough for me to be going in there to play it, just let me buy it and get immersed in it, you know, but free's good too. Yeah.
I think most of us are agreeing.
Yeah, you know,
It's hard. It's something a lot of people who, if you spend more than even a couple hours a week playing a game, it completely disrupts the experience. And of course, the studios themselves are making that, they're making that accommodation for their, you know, their cash flow to say, am I going to charge a lot more upfront? You know, the average price of video games, you know, is like around $60. But then you have all the little add-ons, you have all the skins, you have all the DLCs, and that's all money in their pocket, because guess what, you wanna play in a different profile, and buy it all over again. So it just keeps giving, and the more that people continue to pay for it, you're paying to skip, you're saving time, you're just doing it for convenience, of course, but that's kind of the whole point of playing a video game, isn't it, to escape, to enjoy yourself, and you're spending that time on something that you're going to be a really big fan of, or that you love the story, or the creativity behind it, and yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing is, I don't mind it being a component of it, but I don't like it being the only option that I have.
Or like a blocker
Right.
to get
Yeah,
there.
because again, if they say free to play, you pay $20 and not deal with any transactions or commercials, if you're talking mobile games, then if I've enjoyed it enough, I'll pay the $20 just to avoid all that stuff. But a lot of times, in the non-mobile space, it's almost always microtransactions. Again, if they're not required to play the game, that's fine, but a lot of them are becoming pay to win type situations. So, like skins and stuff, I personally don't care about those, so I don't invest in those. I'm fine if people wanna pay for that. Hey, if that's what you'd like to do, no problem there, but I don't want that to be a main component at all.
Exactly, you can't level up your, like if it's a blockade to like leveling up your
Absolutely.
character and they're making it, oh, you have to spend 10 hours to every transaction that somebody else makes for $1 or $2, and then it becomes really unfair, and you have a bunch of people who are just skipping around and doing what they want, and it makes it more, I feel like it makes it a little bit more inaccessible to the people who are fans, who will take the time to go play it, to continue and continuously support the storytellers, the people who make the game, the creative minds behind it. I just feel like it just makes it go down.
Yeah, it's, I look at it kind of like Helldivers 2. Now, I know Helldivers 2 is obviously not a free-to-play game, but they came out $39.99, an approachable price on console and PC. Now, when you need those special little currencies that you have to play on the harder levels to get in order to add the expansions for your mothership and stuff, that's there, but they also have the option to buy currency. So it's kind of the, how bad do you want it? Do you want it now? Then open up your checkbook and go to town. Checkbook.
I know.
I was gonna say, there's an outdated, let's Apple Pay, Google Pay, whatever, yeah, don't wanna get.
You're not saving yourself.
No,
on
no,
that.
no, stop. The flip side is you could also go in and take your chances with random players, or hopefully you have a good team, and slog through, that, and, spend a half hour dealing, and then you come back going, hey, we got 5 pieces, and we need 40 to expand our bay. And once you expand the bay, you find out, oh, hey, guess what? Now we need another 40 to do the next one and the next one. And eventually you go, yeah, I'm tired, what's next? But I think it's fair as long as it's not, as they pointed out, made valid points. You just don't want it to be the backbone of your game. And truthfully, whenever I see free to play, my first thought is, where are they gonna stick it to me to make their money?
That's exactly.
And, I always tell people, I said, if you look at Call of Duty, I keep coming back to that, it's a premium game, you pay the full price for it. They have all the cosmetics beyond belief. You can do the boys, you can do Fallout, you can do all this, they have all the custom weapons, but they're not a requirement to move on. And they have certain things where they say, hey, if you do all these tasks, you can earn enough to make these weapons, or do the weapons. Their PR sent me some of that cash they use, and they said, and I said, all right, I'll try the Fallout set. So I got him the jumpsuit, I got him the 2 weapons. And I thought about it, and I go, well, okay, great, I can see Fallout when he's in the screen, but when I start the game, I basically see 2 wrists and a gun. You know who sees Fallout? The person I'm aiming at, and hopefully they only get a very quick shot before I take them out. So, I'm like, and yet, you look at Star Citizen, these people are spending millions upon millions of dollars still on this game that is still in alpha some 10 years, 10, 12?
More than that, yeah.
I remember doing a magazine interview with Chris Roberts, 12 years ago, where he said, it will be out in 6 months. I should have said, can I hold you to that? But, all right, so great question.
Can I ask what you think about it? Yeah. I'm just wondering,
It
since you asked
depends,
this
right?
question.
Like,
Okay.
I have a neighbor and we both bought First Ascendant, and he went and spent $100 and I spent like $10.
Yeah.
And I still had a good experience in
Absolutely.
it, but we both enjoyed it as well. So I guess it really depends on the player.
Yeah, and I mean, there's things like with Elder Scroll Online too, where you can pay the monthly subscription, or you can buy the expansions when they come out, and you don't have to pay the monthly subscription. So there are obviously ways that can be done, so people can enjoy it without spending the same amount of money on it.
And that's, sorry, go ahead.
No, did the $100, your friend,
He still enjoyed it though.
but any more, $90 more than you?
I know.
Oh, I'm just wondering,
I paid more than him.
Right, well, there you go, because he's like all mad that he spent $100. I'm with you, cool.
It's kind of, to me, it's like that Ubisoft situation where they had this whole grand idea of doing a whole line of free-to-play games. And the Division game went, I played it, but they've never bothered telling us whether the non-disclosure we signed is still in effect, even though they canceled the game. But they have Xfinity out there. Played it for a little bit, but I'm kind of like, weapons are a little unbalanced. I mean, you put a whole clip in a guy and they still come at you and one-shot you with a pistol. And then, you're like, okay, is that one of those pistols where, oh, look at that, to armor up and to have better weaponry and stuff like this. So how is this exactly a competitive advantage here? Because you pay away, you get all these weapons, and they're attempting to balance it, but that's always my, if I see, like you said, I figure they're gonna get you one way or another. Like Candy Crush,
Well, I figure it's mostly, I can see it being, if it's an enhancement versus an advantage. I feel like that's where the
Yes?
Is there any market data to suggest that free-to-play games end up making a company more money than a flat-out paid game?
Case by case basis, I would say. I mean, you know, King and their Candy Crush games made a fortune.
Yeah, I say mobile, that's pretty much the de facto anymore.
Yeah.
That's how these games are released, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna ask a question on the mobile side. So, what are you guys currently seeing in the current state of mobile, specifically for AAA games? Because I know there was a world before the BlizzCon fiasco. Ultimately, it was like, hey, every AAA title needs to have a mobile equivalent. Frankly, we're going to prioritize mobile development. But I read somewhere that I think there was a pullback in the industry, or they're detecting some softness around mobile gaming. So, like, what are you guys seeing? Like, how do you see that play out moving forward?
Please.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think Diablo was kind of the last mobile, like AAA type mobile game that I can really think of off the top of my head. Now, I think the state of play for handheld gaming has increased significantly with the release of the ROG Ally, the Steam Deck. Nintendo Switch kind of started that off. And obviously a lot of these mobile games have, a lot of phones have Bluetooth or adaptive controls. So I think that's kind of taken some of this, not to Steam, I hate to say that, not to quantify, but I think a lot of the handheld market is advancing past mobile gaming now, even things like Xbox allowing you to stream games to your phone. I think Sony have a component of that too. I think we'll see a lot more of that too. So I think there will always be some area of AAA games that are going to be mobile focused, but I think you're going to see a lot more cloud gaming being streamed to phones and handheld devices. That's going to kind of take over that market segment, in my personal opinion.
I want to add to that too, to kind of think about the technology aspect as well. You know, our phones are meant to do a lot more than just play video games, and so it's very limited. You know, there's been this big push for like Apple to enhance the photography ability or take videos on them because social media uses them. That's more of their market is people who are going to be using cell phones, and they push being able to, you know, people talk about. Well, it's huge industries, but the gaming aspect on mobile games, it's not designed to have you sit in a room and play it for hours at a time. But consoles, like the handheld consoles that have the better graphics, that have the lasting battery life, that you won't wear out, you know, the Joy-Cons that you have, like the Steam controllers, it really goes more towards that.
Yeah, I do think, again, on that mark, the cloud gaming segment is, I think, going to go big, because now with the advancement of availability of Wi-Fi for people that are faster Wi-Fi, phones, tablets, other devices that are easily streamed to you. And I know the Stadia, some could argue the problem with Stadia wasn't the technology, it was the price point and how they marketed it, with you having to buy the game that is only supported on Stadia, but you're still paying $60 for it. I think we will see a fairly large segment of cloud gaming and streaming. Again, with the Sony handheld that they released for the streaming PlayStation, both locally and over public internet, something like that. As the infrastructure continues to get built up, I think we're going to see a lot more of that. That's not to say mobile gaming is going away. Again, pay-per-play, a lot of people want simplistic games like Candy Crush. They want a game they sit down and play while they're waiting for the bus.
Yeah.
You know, 5 minutes or whatever. Whether or not, but to your point, do I want to sit down and play Starfield, a 100-hour game of Starfield on my phone? Probably not. If I was going to play it on anything, Steam Deck or an Ally or Amazon Claw or whatever device, that makes more sense. It's bigger screen, higher fidelity graphics, and the ability to play on the go as well with AAA games.
Victor, did you have something?
I'd rather play Candy Crush.
Yeah, I mean there will always be a market for those casual games that people can get into. Again, with the AAA studios though, I think we'll still see a area for the mobile market in there, but I do think you'll see a lot more of a trend with streaming and cloud-based games going into that direction.
And there is a Division game, a mobile one coming that is you know. So, we just been told we have time for one more question, right here, please.
Turning from casual games to professional gaming, what do you think about the future of professional gaming as a profession and a show? For example, do you think in the future are we going to have a Super Bowl esports game?
They've been talking
Wow,
about
what
they've
a-
been talking about that for 20 years.
What a
actually.
great question.
Super-
That's a great question.
That is a great.
Because when I was young, the MLG was very popular, and even when I was in high school, I dreamed, like, you know, I want to be like them and play Halo
Right.
2 as a professional, or Gears of War, I don't know, Call of Duty, everything as a professional. There was a big spike about that, and even with League of Legends too. But these years after the pandemic, I think that kind of shows, and even the being a professional has been like going down because of that, and the streaming in Twitch.
Right, the rise of Twitch, the rise of YouTube. Because about in 2017, I met with an esports league that did, what did they play? League of Legends and Call of Duty. And that was kind of the pinnacle. There was a lot on TV. They had, I think at CES, they had a big, E3, they had a big tent set up. EA had a big tent set up where they had they were hosting a bunch of esports teams doing that. It still exists, but from when that occurred to after the pandemic, I think with the rise of Twitch, where people can just make money doing it by themselves, I think we will still see the leagues. But honestly, I haven't. A lot of that I mean, maybe I'm not wrong. Maybe I'm wrong because I don't follow a lot of the esports stuff anymore. But where they were going 6-7 years ago, I thought we would be there. We're taking over the market. We would have the big Super Bowls. We would have the big competitions, which I know do exist. But in my opinion, I haven't seen it explode like we were thinking it would 7 or 8 years ago.
You just don't hear about it anymore.
I mean, we still have on television.
Hear about,
And there
but
were still esports teams.
I think it's kind of like a generation guy, and I can tell you that, yeah, you gotta have the right games for it. For example, when I'm not doing the media stuff, I teach classes now and then. Last year I was teaching a class that they had an esports component. They had no thought on it. They had this grand big thing about, oh, we're gonna do an esports league with all the school districts and all this. The person who put it together wasn't a gamer, walked away from it. I moved on to another district. They're not doing one at all. And they gave us Nintendo Switches for esports, but yet there was no connectivity because they didn't want the kids going online. And they had to play Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers all day long in a classroom with each other, no competition with the other schools. So I like the idea that there was a school forward thinking enough to do this, but it was a case of I told them flat out, this is what we do. The kids are gonna want Call of Duty, they're gonna want Fortnite, they're gonna want this. You are not gonna let them play games that involve running around and shooting. If you're gonna do this, we have to have the games they wanna play. And then they did things like some schools got Switches, some schools got PCs. If someone got organized, put it together, and made it at a school level, where it was, you wanna play football or you wanna do this, move on, have a generation where they're not so, oh, I need sponsors, and it's all about me, and you have actual teams, then the sky's the limit, but you gotta have games people wanna play. And I personally don't like watching people play games. I'm like, I can sit and play them myself. I don't like scripted, oh, let's get my buddies in to be stooges so I can shoot them and make me look good, and heavily edited. I like, full-on gameplay competition. So, I think that's it, everybody. Thank you. I'll be outside today. We're doing the video game panel, and we've done them at WonderCon as well as some other ones, and boy, this is crazy. How many of you sat through one of them, this one last year, or did the WonderCon panels? All right, new victims, all the better. New victims. So, this is us. We do movies, games, TV reviews, travel, entertainment, pop culture, and more. And sometimes we have other people with us, and they get pulled away at the last minute to cover some things. So I'm Gareth. I'm the one here who started the whole thing. Michael and Karen, you guys want to do your intros? We're expecting 2 others, but they got stuck in traffic, so if you see people coming up, you'll know. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Michael Newman without the name tag. So I've been doing this with Gareth for, I don't know, going on 10 years almost. We do the weekly podcast. We do a lot of video game reviews, movie reviews, Comic-Con, the other circuits. I've been doing the WinterCon one with him for a couple of years. I was supposed to be here last year, but had a sick cat to take care of. So my wife ended up filling in. She gets to introduce herself next.
I'm Karen Newman. I'm married to this guy, as he just mentioned. And yes, I did come by myself because he had to take care of our sick cat. But I pretty much just follow him around to help Gareth out with movie reviews and all that good stuff. And then follow this guy around doing all the fun stuff. So here we are.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is, obviously, we're talking about upcoming video games, as well as what's announced, what's rumored, and some other stuff. Now, I decided about a week and a half ago, thanks to my wife's suggestion, we're gonna change up the format a little bit. So normally what we do is we show some trailers, go into some news and rumors, and then do question and answers. Well, one of my big things is I don't wanna show you old trailers. I figure, you know, if it's over 2-3 weeks old, it's not worth it, it's all over the place. They dropped all their big reveals back in May, June, because when they used to have E3. So we decided what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little different. We're still gonna be talking about upcoming games. We're still gonna be talking about news and rumors and taking your questions, but we're gonna make things a little more interactive. So what we're going to do, rather than show trailers from stuff that's been out there, is we're gonna show some images, official screenshots, some leaked screenshots, and we're gonna tell you what it is, and then you tell us by either thumbs up, thumbs down, applause, whatever, what your interest level is on the games, how excited you are for it. We'll get into the news and rumors, and then of course we'll make it question and answer, because the big part of this is interactive. We don't wanna just be up here lecturing. So obviously some of these things you should know, some of these things you may not know, and then we do have a trailer in here as well. Okay, so we'll start off with Assassin's Creed Shadow, the new Assassin's Creed set in Japan. What is our interest level in that one?
Egypt.
So there's another image from it. The detail level is just mind-blowing, isn't it? It's crazy when you think about where video games were 10 years ago. Indiana Jones. Great circle. Where are we with that one? Black Ops 6, the grand leap forward. What's your interest level in this one? Okay. So, 4 years in development, longer than any other game in the series, we're told. A brand new leap with the tech fact that it does look like him. It's not this, Kenner action figure variation. Yay. So